Hello there, and welcome to another special Arty Class webinar hosted by Shopkeep Arty, the online platform helping everyone to learn new things, improve their art, and have fun creating. I'm John, and today we'll be hosting professional artist Ryno Swart. I'll now press our grandly named travelometer, and we will zoom in to and see where we're traveling to today. So let's do this.
Right, that looks beautiful.
And here we go. You've got a little bit of feedback, Ryno. We had that this week, actually. I think you've maybe got a couple of microphones on. And we're flying in just to the southwest of Cape Town. Look at that. Here we go. And hello, Ryno. Hello.
Now you should be able to go.
How are you doing? I didn't come to your other camera because your other camera, the image is off. It's black at the moment. So, but you live in a fantastic place. I had the opportunity of seeing your garden yesterday, and you were going to actually take us out. There we go. I can put it onto that now. Here we go. Right. And you're going to take us out into the garden because Ryno has got a fantastic view of the sea. So if you wouldn't mind taking us out there just so that we can feel like we're in South Africa, it would be fantastic. So look at that view. What a view for a garden. And you can walk all the way down to the garden there, and there's an island to the left which is called Seal Island, and as I understand it, that's where a boat took Ryno and his wife and they got married on Seal Island, which is amazing. So look at that. What a view from the bottom of your garden. I mean, isn't that incredible? So I thought that would be very interesting. Thank you so much for sharing that, Ryno. I'll let you get back to your drawing board now, but and I'll continue with the introduction. What an amazing place. Fancy being in a house like that with the sea and everything at the bottom of your garden. Oh, just incredible. If you've never been to South Africa, it's a fantastic place, and it's the only place that I've ever been to where the mountains meet the sea. It's just incredible. Amazing and inspirational place to do painting anyway. So we'll go back to Ryno in a minute, but if you've not had the opportunity of painting with Ryno before, Ryno is the founder and leader of romantic figurative art in South Africa. And after working in film storyboarding, Ryno travelled to Paris to learn his love of painting. He then returned to Johannesburg, where he spent 4 years painting at a ballet company, training his eye and hand in unison with the dancers, hence developing his artistic skill from there. So unlike our free Tuesday Arty Class webinars, which get oversubscribed, our special Arty Class webinars guarantee you a place and are more exclusive since we don't live stream. Some of you will have paid to join in live today, but most will have paid less than the one-off entry fee to have free access all month to these special classes as a Shopkeep Arty patron. These 1 hour Arty classes are designed to give you a short, sharp boost of creative inspiration for an hour from some of the world's leading artists. As always, joining our live webinar is the best way to get most out of this class. Ryno and I can't see or hear you, but if you do have a question, simply type it into the Q&A section and I'll ask it at the appropriate moment to the artist. Since the materials required are listed in full on our website, shopkeeparty.com as well, I don't ask questions about the paper, brushes or paints. So Ryno might mention those during the class, but I want to really use this time efficiently. So please keep your questions as insightful and thought-provoking as you can. Then we'll get the most out of it. Halfway, we'll pause and I'll ask Ryno about his 2 to 3 hour full workshop webinar that is an exclusive paid-for event coming up very soon. But for now, let's get painting and go back to say hello to Ryno because he's back in his studio. Hello, Ryno. How are you?
I'm very good, John. Are you well there?
Yeah, very well, thank you. Very well. So you've got some lovely art behind you. I can see some of your pieces of work behind you there.
Yeah. Big picture is my wife just when we got married. It's a nice one.
Yes, yeah. Now, I can't see your. So I think you're looking at another camera, but that's not actually switched on at the moment. So I can't actually. So I'm seeing this one at the moment. Yeah. Right. So what are we going to be covering today?
We're going to be covering the first 4 or 5 techniques that goes into a classical technique of oil painting. That is the technique that was used by Rembrandt and Vermeer. And, yeah, I'm still having an echo there.
Yeah, the sound is a bit. I don't know where you've got your sound coming from. I think it's from the camera that I'm seeing you from. It's quite far away. I think it would be better. Yeah, I think it would be better if we had the sound from one of your other. But you'll need to go and switch it off
This one.
because there's going.
Okay,
Yeah,
this might be clearer.
it will be clearer, but we'll get feedback
Clearer.
though. You'll need to go and switch it off on the other one.
That's going to be clearer, I'm sure.
Much better. Yeah, it's much better. Thank you.
Right, John. I'm going to be demonstrating. First, it's going to be a color beginning on this flat canvas, the beautiful white canvas, which I'm going to mess up for us now.
Okay, great.
I am going to do the color beginning. The color beginning is basically a wash. This is the technique that Turner made famous. So it's a tiny bit of turpentine in a bowl. I'll pull the bowl up here and just put in a little bit of turpentine there, like that. Then I'll put in a touch of blue. On my palette, which is on screen right now,
Yeah.
I'll put a bit of blue right in the center. And just to the left, just near the left edge, I'll put a little bit of burnt sienna. These two colors are all I need for a nice wash, for a beautiful color beginning. I can use any colors I want to, but these two are my standby colors that I use when I feel like it. So pick up a tiny bit of French ultramarine. It's called French ultramarine because it was constituted or reconstituted by a French chemist. So the French claim it as theirs. So there, and a tiny bit of burnt sienna to kill the excessive strength of the French ultramarine.
Now, are you marking that or painting that on your board at the moment because we can't actually see that?
Okay, so now I'm ready to do that. So I'm going to take this palette now and put it to one side. Oh, yeah, there's a bottle of water. Okay, I got it. And put this one here. And this one. Right. Here is our mixture. More turpentine. And the color beginning, this is the Turner method. It's very simple. We start at the top of the canvas with horizontal strokes, broad horizontal strokes like that, like a wash. I think the reason why Turner developed this painting technique for his oils is because before he developed his oil painting techniques, he was first the world's most highly rated watercolor painter. So this is essentially a watercolor technique. I'm going to take a little bit to change the color and make it more lively. There, bring some blue in at the bottom here. Like that. So this color beginning is just a fun technique, a great way to start your painting. All artists in the olden days, all the great masters started with a tinted canvas. But Turner was the one that made a fresh tinted canvas for his work. Okay, so if you can follow me up to this stage, just use a broad brush and put some turpentine over the entire, turpentine wash over the entire surface. I'm going to just put this one to one side again, because what I'd like to do now is to, while this one is settling and drying, you will also need all your colors on the palette in the following sequence. Right. We use black. Lots of books say that the Impressionists didn't use black, but the Impressionists' own letters state that they love black. Renoir went as far as to say that black is the queen of colors. That one away. So that's black and burnt sienna. raw umber. A green, sap green is perfectly good. Viridian is also good. I've noticed that some of my students didn't like Viridian because it was such an intense green that they didn't like to work with it.
So Trina's asked, did you put the turpentine in a cup or container and then add the blue and burnt sienna to make a thin wash? Is that what you did?
Yes, yeah. It makes a beautiful wash, the two of them together. The reason is because with the burnt sienna and the French ultramarine blue, it makes a kind of a reticulated surface, which is very similar to the grain of sea sand, and very beautiful. Now I'm getting down to the yellow, cadmium red, cadmium yellow, and just two more. Two more yellow ochre. And white. White we use these days is titanium. It's a wonderful white. It is so safe that it is used in bone surgery for bone operations.
Now, there's a little bit of feedback coming from one of your devices that's still got the audio on, but I'm not sure which one it is. So I don't know whether you can fix that. It might be that one.
Maybe that'll get rid of the feedback.
It's still there a little bit, but anyway, we'll live with it for now.
Device working. Very frustrating. Okay, my palette goes to one side now. I can work with it. And then our color beginning comes back. So for those who are ready, we shall now go to the second stage of the painting, which is line drawing. Now, you know what?
Yeah, I think there's still something. I don't know what it might be. So maybe your phone, you could just disconnect it from Zoom first of all. So try that. So just switch it off on your other phone that you took us out in the garden with. You could maybe just switch Zoom off on that one.
Let me get back to the Zoom. Right off. Does that sound a bit better?
That sounds better. Yeah, that sounds better.
Okay, now what I need is my actual original drawing. Don't worry about the dog, Anne, as much as you see. Anne, I need my drawing. But not drawing, it's on a board in a studio. Okay, so the painting that I'm working from is this one behind me here. This one that you will have seen. So I'm going to hold it in my left hand so that I can draw from it. So, and I'm going to start with black and a very fine line. This brush is called the rigger. And I'm going to start slightly to the left of center, like that, with a very fine line. And then with the blue, I'm going to do a similar line. It sounds like the echo is gone. I hope so.
Yeah. I've actually got your video. I don't know whether this is better for people because you could maybe talk through this a little bit. I don't know. I because it's got your palette on this as well, which is quite useful to see.
One, which was the color beginning, but we don't have to because that's quite nicely explained. Oh, you're showing it. That's brilliant. Yeah. So what I'm doing on the canvas while you're showing that one is I'm doing a few more of these. And then I can copy this drawing a little bit more. Okay, like that.
So, would you prefer to talk through what you're doing on this video rather than what you're doing in real life?
Yeah.
Or paint along? What do you want to do, Ryno?
So, in the drawing, I have her wearing a white blouse.
Yeah.
a green skirt with white frills. So now I'm just putting in the black, and the same thing there in the video. I think that video will stop very soon. And when it stops, I'll be slightly ahead on this one that I'm working with, the live one, slightly ahead.
Okay.
There, and some black there.
So Marianne asked, is there a drawing on the canvas? Have you actually drawn it out? Is that what you're tracing with the paint, or are you sketching it with the paint?
Yeah, that is the rigger brush, and this one was used. It was made famous and became very useful in the age of steam or in the age of sail, because those artists had to be experts at drawing lines of the lines of the rigging of the sailing ships, and that is a very, very difficult job. So this brush is called the rigger, and it was invented and developed especially for that. It's one of my favorite brushes. You can make the most delicate fine lines. Now, the one we're looking at now on the screen has been done on top of a dry color beginning. I have, and the people who are following along will have a slightly damp color beginning underneath this, but it won't matter. This thing will be dry in about 10 minutes. And then once it's dry, then we can move on to the next step.
I'll go to your actual drawing, the actual painting that you've made there. Perfect.
And this drawing that I did now. You can see that the drawing here has dissolved a little bit. It's spread a little bit. That doesn't matter at all, because what's the purpose of this bit of drawing is to capture the composition drawing here.
Okay. Yeah.
This composition drawing on the canvas. And one of the main things about this composition drawing is where will the head go up there, and where will the feet go? The feet I want there, quite high from the bottom of the thing. So I'll take a dark color. I think an umber is nice. And dry paint. Scumble is done with very dry paint. I don't know where the word scumble comes from. Maybe some of you can enlighten me. But for myself, I've always fancied suggesting to my students that the word scumble is a combination of the word crumble. The paint crumbles, so it's quite dry, crumbly paint that we use in this one. You can see how it goes on.
I've got a question from Vivian in Perth in Australia. So hello, Vivian, and she's asked, you're using sap green here, but is Viridian also good?
Viridian is absolutely one of the very, very best greens that you can use. I had some trouble with my students when I first started teaching, where some of them said they're scared of Viridian, because it's so intense.
Yeah.
But that's good. An intense green is better than a dull green. But sap green is not dull. It's got enough life and energy. So now there I'm marking in the position for the head. This is all scumbling technique. The secret of a scumble, when you can see when the scumble is done nicely, is that it goes zigzag. That's a nice scumble. The color should be right when we do the scumbles. Now I'll use some blue into that. And I'll do some scumbles here over the skirt. Those lines that I've drawn for the ribbon around the chest, those lines were drawn too low. So I'm going to go here with the green of the skirt. The neck is fine there where it is. This will be a choker. I'm going to place it a bit higher. And then with my palette knife, I'm going to take out a little bit of pale color here. It's not necessary, but it works very nicely when it does work. Now that's enough scumbling. But I won't stop the scumbling, because part of the purpose of using the scumble is to create atmosphere. And the atmosphere that we're looking to create is between the body, very red that, between the body, the subject, the figure, and the edges of the painting. We need to create the transition. And if we get this transition right, if we can get this transition beautiful, then that should be much better. Now this can transition into her skin, and I'll draw this down a little bit and scumble in a different direction like that. So you see the scumbling is a little bit like drawing with a pencil. Very, very, very nice technique. And this technique, it reminds me particularly of two famous artists. The one is who used this technique in a lot of his paintings. it's an impatient kind of technique, and it suited him because he always worked very fast. I always work very, 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 very slowly. For me to work at this speed is most unusual.
We like challenging you.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So I'm going to try and
Don't
do.
have to. I mean, you know, an hour. It's like a taster, really. It's you know, it's
Put an hour.
deliberately short. So I don't want to commit you to finishing it. Don't worry, don't worry.
My problem is that I won't get a high level of finish. I'll get a nice low level of finish, which actually, if you think about it, when you think about romantic work, the work of Toulouse-Lautrec and the work of Degas and the work of Sartre and so on, there is a lack of finish, and that lack of finish is something absolutely exquisite. So very early in the painting, we've got something going, you know. So the scumbling, there's enough scumbling now. So I've covered 2 techniques in a very, very short time. The third technique, I've covered 3 techniques. It was the wash, then I did the line drawing, which is now just a tiny bit of line left, and then the scumble. So 3 of the techniques are covered. The next technique that we're going to look at is direct painting. And now for the direct painting, I just want to put my painting closer so that I can see it nicely. Okay. So we won't do much more from our drawing. The drawing has done its purpose. The purpose of the drawing was to get our composition onto our canvas. That's done. So now we're moving on to direct painting. Now, the direct painting technique is different from the scumbling technique in that, number one, we use wetter paint. I'll start with a light color, white. When you want to mix white into any color, start with a white far away on your palette. I'm just going to show this for a moment. On my palette, I like to place the white far away. And then if I add blue to it, I add the blue from the top. So for a pale color, always start with your white and then add the blue or the red or the green or whatever you want to add. That works much better. Because if you start with a blue, you'll be adding white paint forever. Okay, here's a nice color. And this color, I want a little bit more green in it. I'm just talking my way through it. And I remember that just here, next to the choker on the throat, there's a beautiful deepish shadow here. And this deepish shadow is a greenish, a dirty kind of green. That's a nice color that I've got there now. So now I'm going to add a tiny bit of blue to that same color. The technique that I use for direct painting is actually slightly different from the Impressionist technique. Or maybe I should say it's more the same than theirs. The Impressionists used individual touches of color. Now, there's some more pure blue and some white. And with this one, I'll draw a shadow here just under the breast, shadow on this side, which is much more blue. So the gentle colors of the blouse are beginning to establish themselves. And here I can do a stroke in this direction. So these 2 colors are different colors. So my belief is that to do direct painting is a kind of an homage. Never know if we should say homage or homage. Kind of an homage to nature. In nature, everything is unique. Everything. Every snowflake is completely unique. And every fingerprint is unique. And every leaf of every tree is unique. So I've wondered, just to myself, but I always share whatever I wonder about. I wonder if we take all the snowflakes that have ever fallen throughout the history of the universe, if we take all of them and we put them under microscopes, if we are not going to find 2 snowflakes that are the same. Now, some people will believe differently. I believe we will not. I believe that nature is so infinitely rich that every stroke of nature, every fingerprint will be unique no matter how many we collect. I tried it once with the leaves of a pine tree because they're so similar, you know, they're just pine needles. There's no great difference between one pine needle and another one. How much difference can there really be? More blue in this. But I put a few of them on a piece of paper, and they were all completely different from each other. That pleased me greatly. So I wanted to strengthen the experiment, and I thought, okay, I'll take something where we don't expect them to be different. We actually expect them to be very similar. And in the experiment, I took a box of matches, and I set out a number of matches on a white paper. And they were all different. They were totally different. Some of them had large heads on them, and other ones had lengthy heads. They were different in shape, they were different in color. And so on the end, I did a painting of 4 of them, just 4 matches from a matchbox. And I like that painting. I've kept that painting for myself. So now this is the direct painting stroke there, direct painting. But from the direct painting to the scumble is the tiniest step. Here I'll do another direct painting stroke there, down, drag, stop, and lift, which gives you a very powerful stroke. I'm going to try one now for, let's say, for a little entertainment. I'm going to try a direct painting stroke as fresh and as powerful as the ones that were made by Van Gogh. So down, push, drag, stop, and lift. And in that lift, the paint should follow the brush leaving the paper. So that is very, very beautiful direct painting. So direct painting carry on. In the sleeve here on this side, I can bring some blue in here where the sleeve comes towards the waist. Like that, a nice long stroke. But now I am going to switch to the next technique. So now we've covered, how many is it, 4? I think so. Now I'm going to switch to my palette knife. And I'm going to employ the palette knife mostly in the areas of white. That is to say, in the skirt here, I'll do some palette knife strokes, and up there in the blouse, I'll employ some palette knife strokes. But I'll start with one just here. This is just a fun place to start. So you deposit it first. You deposit a lump of paint, and you step over the paint, take your palette knife beyond it, and drag it as if you're raking. As if you're raking leaves. And when you come to the end of the stroke, you lift it, then you can actually see the shadow there. That is that rich kind of stroke that we associate with Monet and with Van Gogh. And I'll do something similar on the other side of the skirt. Down, drag, stop, and lift. If you do too much of this, if you start getting irritated with all this texture, there's a very simple solution. I'll do another one before I show you the solution. The hand comes into this direction. So I put a little bit of light white fluff next to her. Drag, stop, and lift. If you find that it's a little bit too much to your taste, you can just take your palette knife and you can trim off the tops. I like it. I won't trim them off while I'm painting. I'll only trim it off when the paint is dried and I want to apply a glaze. Now, we cannot possibly apply a glaze because in order to apply a glaze, you have to leave your painting to dry for a very long time, let's say 14 days minimum. So this won't be able to take a glaze, but I can carry on without glazing, and I can paint the painting without glazing. And I can get the color variations into the white paint, as I'm doing now. This is just pure white because I'm going for this beautiful glow. Also there in the top, there like that, and like that, drag it like that. So now I'm getting the nice whites. And then I'm going to take, if you'll see on my palette knife, put the excess off. I'm only taking a small blob of white on the very tip of the palette knife now. You see like that. That means that I can now, with that small blob of white, I can make a much smaller stroke. So I go down, drag, stop, and lift. The technique remains the same. And the technique, even when I'm doing the direct painting with my brush, the technique remains the same. Down, drag, stop, and lift. And then there's another technique which I love to show you guys. And this one, I'm just running out of white here. Oh man, why is this thing so tight? won't open at all. I can't believe it.
I have the same problem with jam jars. Can't get the lid off.
I've got 2 tubes of white here, and I don't know. Okay. It must be right here. Oh, so this tube of white will be good. I like the Georgian colors. I think they are the best colors that there are. But at sometimes I can't get the Georgian, and this Lucas paint, which is actually made in, I think, Switzerland. I think so, or Germany, but it's very, very, very good. It gives you a beautiful white. And the test of a white, I'm going to show you. I want to test a white for if it's a good white. Is to take your palette knife and on the white, carve it like that, cut it. And if it makes a clean cliff edge there, you've got a great white paint. And this is one. But now what I want to demonstrate is how to do an impasto stroke with a paintbrush. So what you do is you put the impasto on your palette knife and you scoop it across to your paintbrush. And with that one now, you can apply the stroke down, step over, drag, stop, and lift. And you got that same power that you get with the palette knife. You get with the brush. Now these colors are slightly less pure because the palette knife is the cleanest painting instrument that we have. So that's enough. Now back to the palette knife and clean up that one just a little bit. There, like that. So the basic parts of the figure are now really done. I want to put some more white in the base of the skirt, just here by the legs, where we get to the feet and the ankles. There, some more white. And with this white impastos, you can spread the paint around very much like you would spread butter on a piece of toast. And that is really, really, really a fun thing to do. So you can play with your paint, spread it around like that. But now the figure is approaching some kind of resolution. It's not there yet, but some more white there. But we're getting there. So what I want to do now is to leave the figure and to work on the surrounding areas. I did start working on the surrounding areas there.
Now before we do that, Ryno, would it be a good chance, because it is sort of about our halfway point, so it might be a nice opportunity to just take a pause right now and to just talk a little bit about your workshop?
Yes, that'll be nice.
Okay, yeah. Perfect. It's good opportunity. Brilliant. So how are you enjoying it? I've had a couple of comments actually. So Trina said, what a great class so far. Ryno's sharing so much that's useful for oil and other media. And then I've had a few tips on how to open up jars as well. So Jacqueline said rubber gloves make it a lot easier. And Lainey used a pair of nutcrackers once as well. So there we go. Now, if although we don't live stream this on the day on Thursdays, we do publish it on YouTube for a limited time. So if you are watching the recording on there, we'd really appreciate if you could press the thumbs up button. This then ensures that YouTube recommends this class to more people, helping us spread the benefits of creativity to the young and old alike. So thank you for that. In addition to these classes, the secret sauce of what we provide, and what I personally believe is the most effective way of elevating your art skills to the next level, is our full 2 to 3 hour workshop webinars. And these events have restricted numbers, making them more exclusive and immersive. You can also speak directly to the artist for guidance as you paint, which means you can pick up a lot more of their tips and tricks. The price to attend is just £38, or equivalent about $50, which works out at just over £12 or $17 an hour. So it's really great value. We'll be hosting Ryno's full workshop next week on Thursday the 18th of February at 3:30 UK time, 3:30 in the afternoon, not in the morning.
Or,
Yeah. So Rhino, what will you be helping? What's the plan for your 2 to 3 hour workshop?
okay, what I have here is a painting that I have completed, this one, and I would really like to, where can I hold this one where it can be seen the most easily? I'll go to this one here.
Okay. Yeah, we can see that. Yeah.
I have given it different titles, I think I called it Bridesmaid and things like that, or the White Shift, and this is the one that I would like to work on. It's also very intensely working with white. I can't remember who the artist was who said that the ability to paint white, I think it might have been Velasquez, but I can't guarantee that. The ability to paint white is the test of being able to paint at all, because it
Yes.
has such subtle variations in it. If you think of Sargent's milky and luminous whites, and the whites that were used by the Impressionists, by Berthe Morisot and Mary Cassatt and Lautrec, of course, they're absolutely exquisite. So that is what I'd like to do, that one, and I can recreate that painting on a big canvas like this, same as that one.
Yeah.
I think probably the best to find a painting that I and find a painting that appeals to a lot of people, and then recreate it on canvas. And we do that together. So we'll go through the same steps. The steps remain the same: color beginning, line drawing, scumballs, and then direct painting, followed by impastos. After the impastos are finished, and I didn't finish impastos because there's no time in 3/4 an hour to finish the impastos, to finish the line drawing or something like that. But in a 3 hour class, we can do that. We can get into a high finish. So what I'd like to do,
Yeah, that'd be fantastic. And the painting looks stunning
yeah,
behind the painting that you've
yeah,
just shown us.
it's
So,
painting. My wife and my favorite. So that's the one that you thought would be the nicest one
oh,
to.
that's brilliant. No, that looks really great. And I think what we'll also do, because obviously this is our first arty class with Rhino, and obviously there was a few of the sound issues, and
Yeah,
I'd like to with the camera on the workshop as well. Maybe get the camera so that you can see the palette as well as the painting and the canvas. So I think we'll sort that out for the workshop as well, so that it'll be probably. It's always our arty classes are really our first ones as well with a new artist are always a little bit of a testing ground both
yeah.
ways. So we'll be able to kind of perfect that for the workshop as well.
Now with sound quality, it sounds good. After I turned off that one, the
Yeah, well,
extra.
I think what usually happens is the artist listens back on YouTube afterwards, and you'll be able to kind of
Yeah,
watch it, and
yeah,
you'll be able to pick up where it worked and where it didn't. So that'll be useful.
yeah.
Now, if you are interested in joining us for that workshop, I'm pleased to say that we're going to be launching a hot ticket right now that gives you 10% off for the next few hours only. So let me just share my screen and I'll show you exactly how you go about booking that hot ticket, and I will launch it. I know I forgot to launch it last time, but anyway, I will launch it this time. So let me just share that now.
Yeah.
So you head over to our website, shopkeeparty.com, and then you click on upcoming live events. And if you scroll down, and we've got a different reference picture, but we will replace it with the new one now that we know what Ryno is going to be doing. And if you then scroll down, you'll be able to see the recommended materials, and then also obviously what the sort of things that Ryno is going to be covering with you in the lesson. And then if you're interested, you click this link and it will go through to his shop. And you can either pay for the webinar or the video, and the video has two prices: the full video price or a much discounted price if you attended the live webinar. And I will now launch the hot ticket. There we go. There's Ryno on fire. And if you now click, and this has got the 10% discount, so you can book the webinar or the webinar and the video. And if you do pay for the video, after the event, you'll be able to head over to our video library and you can obviously see other videos there, and you just literally click the watch button and you'll be able to watch it as long as it's unlocked for you for that. And obviously our patrons get certain discounts and things like that as well, and you can head over to our patron thing and have a look at what the benefits of that are. So hopefully that helps, and if you do want to take advantage of that, that is live right now. Right, Ryno, over to you for the second half.
Okay, now John, I've got quite far in this painting and I didn't time myself. I would assume that we've probably done about 10 minutes, maybe even 12 minutes or so. But going over the time won't matter as long as people don't get bored.
Yeah, well, we've got about 15 minutes left.
See, oh, 16, of course, I'm thinking 15, yeah. 16 minutes left. That's plenty, yeah, okay. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to go back to the scumbling technique, because I've got to create the atmosphere over the whole page or the whole canvas. So I've got my brush, and first I'll do a direct painting stroke here, like that, a painting stroke like that with a rather nice color. And then I'll scumble it. So that is another technique. That's a direct painting stroke. And that now becomes a mini scumble. A mini scumble. There's another technique which relates closely to this one. And that would be where we put down a direct painting stroke like that. We leave it there for a moment, and then we drag it 1, 2, and 1, 2. That technique I call drag color, and you can get the most beautiful effects like that. So now I want to come back to my model, who is Chantel, and I noticed that I've made this white part there quite broad. Her arm comes in there, and there should not be so much white there. So what I can do with the black plus green paint, wonderful mixture if you ever want to try it. That black goes into green better than blue goes into green. So a black green is beautiful there. So that's coming better now. So now I want to get to that black and just intensify that. And then come here. Now, so the direct painting stroke. Sorry, now flip it over. Direct painting stroke, nice and firm. And then a scumble or a mini scumble. So a mini scumble is just a small little scumble. It's normally a couple of inches broad, and it depends on the size of your canvas. But it's just a different technique. So a mini scumble, what I like about a mini scumble as opposed to a broad scumble. In a broad scumble, you would normally take your color on the brush like this, and you start scumbling up and over the edges. Very important to go over all edges that you have. Over it. Now, in a normal scumble, you'd carry on with the scumble and do the whole painting virtually, or a massive surface with this painting. But with a mini scumble technique, which is why I like it so much, with a mini scumble technique, you do, so I put it there, you do a little touch there, and you do a little scumble like that. Now, for those of you admirers of the Impressionists, I am perfectly convinced that this was the technique that was used by Cézanne. The other artists of the Impressionist time did direct painting, and they did single brush strokes. I'll do one over here. Single brush strokes. There's one brush stroke, Monet, for example, and I'll take some yellow for fun. Don't want to make too yellow now, but some yellow for fun, and place it next to that one. That's a basic Impressionist technique. And in another color here, sort of a wheaten color, 3. And you work over your surface with these different colors. But Cézanne did something different, and something that I like very much, and it's beautiful for when you've got an active painting. Cézanne did something like that. He'd use his color, and he'd paint a little panel like that. If you look at his paintings, you normally see that these panels are slightly tilted. Now I want to do some more green in here. Green with the yellow. And then another stroke. This is again a Cézanne kind of stroke, like that. I don't have a name for this technique. But if I did have a name technique, it would be patchwork. A patchwork of beautiful colors that go all over the place. You see, elsewhere, the painting can get quite frenetic. And I like the frenetic look. I've got no complaints about that. But with this technique, you calm it down. It's like a little blanket. That blanket that goes over all the lively, energetic brushstrokes that you've put there. And if you're in danger of calming it and subduing it a bit more than what you want it subdued, then it's very simple. You just mix yourself a nice color. And I'll go over one of these little blankets, say this one, and you just put the direct painting stroke right in the middle of it, there. So you calm it down, then you energize it. Then you calm it down, then you energize it. So lovely way to work. Now I'm going to work on this section here, next to this color that I'm doing here. Based on the painting, I think you might have a copy of it somewhere in front of you. Based on the painting, this color must come up to her neck, and when it meets her shirt, it should go over the line just the tiniest bit. Colors must dissolve. Like what I mentioned before, always go over the line, always go over the edges. Dissolve and go over the edges. Then here as well, I want to trim away a little bit of this excess white there. And when you start doing this, when you start trimming that white impastos, it's absolutely wonderful, because it's like taking a plow and plowing the land, because where the plow goes, the soil lifts up and it makes a little white ridge there. That's beautiful. Or it's a little bit like cutting into soft cheese. You make that ridge happen there. So coming together, but now I need to work for unity. The painting is disunited at the moment, so I'm going to work on this area for a short while. Do all of this again. I'm going into the arm, and where these white bits are, I'll put one stroke into it. Like that. Too much. Come down here. So now I'm uniting the field to the left of our subject. Yellow. Uniting all of this. Too yellow, I think. A bit more red would be nice. There. Oh. Very intense, but it's one of those things that the best things that can happen in a work of art is your accidents. There was somebody who wrote, many people wrote about it. They said, to be a good watercolor painter, you have to have lucky accidents. You might have come across that expression. A good watercolor artist is an artist who have lucky accidents. Well, how would you know if you can have lucky accidents, or if you're just bound to have unlucky accidents all your life? The fact is that all accidents are lucky. There is no such thing as an unlucky accident. We use the word accidents in the wrong relationship to our lives, because we use the word accidents when we're referring to motor accidents, which are not accidents at all. They are incidents. You know, it's one person who forgot to look where he's going, and another person who had maybe a couple of drinks, and another person who didn't check the tires and things like that. It's more of an incident that happens. But an accident is how you meet your wife or your husband. That's an accident. Accidents and mistakes, they make your painting. So now I've taken maybe a little bit too much there. So I'll just come back with my palette knife. Oh, too much there. Come back with my palette knife and re-establish that a little bit. And also here, I want to come broader. What I'm doing here is I'm giving myself something to trim away. This is coming on nicely. Now, with my sienna there. And this will come right up to her head and into her hair, dissolving together. I can see that in the painting, I've got a little white spot next to her head on this side. I don't want a white spot on that side. That white spot I can remember from when the model was posing for me, was a spot where the door was open, half open, and the light on the wall behind her. That was the light on the wall behind her. So now I can put a little stroke in there to energize that area a little bit. and then come up to here. The wall on the right-hand side here was more of a creamy, ochre color. That's what I'm going for here. Again, kind of a mini scumble. Just pulling it all together. Pulling it all together. And once these things come together, once we get rid of the little white spots, then the painting unifies itself. It's happening here very beautifully. And yeah. And then I need to do the same to the floor. I don't want to spend all the time, but it's good to spend all the time.
I'm just going to give you a little bit of a time check, but you've probably got about, say, 5 minutes or so left.
Okay, about 5. 5 will be just perfect for me, John.
Okay, perfect.
What I'm doing here now is I'm painting a part that's really, really unimportant. We think about a painting, or we think about our life. Some things we say are more important, and other things are not as important. But that's a bit of a mistake. In painting, when I tried to teach myself to paint, because I never had a proper painting course, I studied the books of the Impressionists. I read everything that was written by the Impressionists. I was clever because I refused to read anything about the Impressionists. That was of no consequence to me, what other people thought the Impressionists thought. And I wanted to read, what did Degas write? What did Monet write? What did Van Gogh write? And I've got all their letters. They're beautiful books on them. My most precious book is a thin little paperback. It's called Sources and Documents, Impressionists and Post-Impressionists, and all their letters to each other. And they write really amazing things in that. That little white spot's worrying me a lot there, but I'll come back to that in a second. And then here I want to get some darker than that. I want to get some darkness here. And pull this together. This, I want to put some energy into here. See, wherever you work, you're putting energy. So the lesson that I taught to myself, I said, I don't know how to finish a painting. When is the painting finished? And it was quite a big question for me. And I was already going out at that stage. And I said to Anne, you know what? If you look at the whole painting, you divide it into little squares, 1 centimeter square. When every square centimeter that is in the painting is the color that belongs to that square, then your painting is finished. So it's not so difficult. I mean, it's difficult enough, but it's not that difficult. So now it's coming together. And I say that really is bothering me a little bit. So I'm going to go back to my nice shadow color for the shoulder. And I'm going to use the shadow color and draw the shoulder like that. There's the shoulder on this side. And on that side, I can get the shoulder by using the color behind the shoulder. So coming together a little bit more here.
Trina's made a lovely comment that as you've been working the background, the figure's really stepping out, and she finds it. And Susie said she's finding this fascinating as well. So that's great. Louise asked, what book was that again that you recommended earlier?
The book is called Sources and Documents. It's a very old book.
Oh, is it?
Sources and Documents, Impressionists and Post-Impressionists. It's a series of books. And if you go to a really good library, which you guys in England, you have much better than we have in the colonies. So you will be able to find, you'll find that in a library.
Okay. It's not
20.
something that someone could buy on Amazon or anything then. It sounds like it's one of these...
That's possible. It'll be very nice, yeah. So it's coming to... But now I want to go with my color of the folds. The folds here, and I want to put a fold on the inside of that arm. There, with the same huge, clumsy brush. There was a great American teacher 100 years ago. His name was Hawthorne. And one of his rules was, swing a bigger brush. You don't know what you're missing. It's a great rule. Always work, whatever you do it with a brush that's a little bit too big. You mustn't be able to get it inside the little spots of your painting. You must just be able to trim like that. So working with a clumsy tool. Ruskin as well, for any Ruskin admirers among you. I think I worship Ruskin. I've got all his books. I think he's the greatest genius of the 19th century. And unfortunately, the German philosophers are hugely admired, but poor old John Ruskin, not really. But he said there are four things which make a painting, which give a painting value, which make painting attractive. The first thing is ideas of truth. You must feel true. You must feel that there's real light here in the painting. Second thing, ideas of beauty. Now, ideas of beauty would be related to color and tonality and harmonies. This whole painting at the moment is nicely harmonized, not because I was working for harmony, but because nature automatically harmonizes. You know, it's just something that happens. So, and the third one, the most important one to me, is ideas of power. And then he wrote about it. That's in his first book. He wrote a book called Modern Painters, and it's page 1 of Modern Painters. Ideas of truth, ideas of beauty, ideas of power. And then ideas of imitation. It must look like something. But even then, in those days, he said, ideas of imitation are unimportant. Ideas of imitation is when you try to make something look like something that it isn't. So it is a skill. It's admired if you have that skill, but it's not important. And then the last one is ideas of relation or ideas of suggestiveness. If you paint a brushstroke and it reminds you, say, of something in nature, or you paint a lily and the lily reminds you of purity, that's ideas of relation. But the idea of power, that's the one that I want to focus on for the moment. Ideas of power come from the insufficiency of the instrument that you're using for the job that you're doing. So if you're working and you're trying to create a beautiful sculpture, or you're trying to create a sculpture, never mind beautiful, you're just trying to create a sculpture, but all you have is a panga. And you see people in Africa doing that kind of thing. And with a panga, they make exquisite sculptures, just hacking away at the wood. That is, so those things, they have a very strong sense of power to them. Okay,
Now,
now
Ryno, I'm sorry to interrupt, but we're sort of coming up to time now, and I know everybody will be really sorry, everybody, because I think Ryno could probably go on for a long time talking. What
no,
an
much
amazing font of knowledge! He seems to exude all these different artists in the past. We'll learn so much at the workshop. I'm really looking forward to it. Now, Ryno, while I'm doing this end review, I wonder whether you could get that workshop painting and put it and replace it on the board that you're painting on at the moment, just so that we can get a closer look at that painting for the workshop. Would that be possible? And how did you get on? I mean, I've had quite a few comments as we've been going along. Jennifer said it's like watching a butterfly emerging from a chrysalis, which I thought was a really great comment. And if you've got some comments that you want me to relay to Ryno at the end, now's the time to do that as well. So do write your comments on the Q&A. Sorry, Ryno.
5 minutes.
5 minutes, what, to finish?
Yeah.
Oh, really? Oh, yeah, I know. I know. Okay, well, I tell you what, you can continue. Why don't you continue, Ryno, with the thank you for that. That's great. Is there any possibility, because your camera looking down on your board is a better quality camera, and I'm just wondering whether we can replace the board that you were painting on and just kind of put the painting underneath it. I don't know. I don't know whether that's possible. Anyway, while you're doing that, I'll just, and then if you want, you can continue with your painting as well. We'll just, I try and keep it within the hour though, Ryno, you see. So love to see what you've come up with. We've got a Facebook post on our Facebook page where, and as you'll see, and if you're familiar with it, you'll know everybody posts all their paintings on there, and then the artist can come and make a comment. So you get a mini critique as well. So it's really great. So visit facebook.com. Search for Shopkeep Arty. The link to the Facebook post as well is on our website on this particular thing, or if you're watching on YouTube, it'll be in the description, for example. So just post your painting there, and Ryno will be able to have a look and make a comment. Now, obviously, if you want to attend the workshop, now's the time to do it. You've got that 10% discount. It's only going to be there for a few hours. So if you do want to come and join us, and I think you'll be able to learn so many things from it. We'll obviously sort out so that you can have a view of the palette, because I think that's quite important, and some other things. But I think you'll learn a load of stuff with that, and the finished painting looks quite incredible. Oh, Ryno's holding it up against. There we go. That's a bit more detail. Okay, great. Yeah, thank you for that, Ryno.
That'll be great fun to try and.
Oh no, and it looks so. It'll look really great at the end with people doing that. So, if you wouldn't mind sending me a photo of that, because at the moment we've got this woman in a red dress and everything. It looks totally different from this one. So, yeah, if you could send us the appropriate picture of that as well, Ryno, that would be fantastic. So jump on board, book your ticket, and that's happening on the 18th of Feb, Thursday the 18th, so in a week or so's time. But it's the end of another great arty class. I'll read out the comments that we've had, Ryno. I can't see Ryno anymore. I think he's hiding behind his painting. Do you want to put that down, Ryno, now? Because I've just got a few comments for you to say thank you for your... I'll come back to the main camera that you were on before. Here we are. So Vivian asked, thank you for this, John. I've been lucky to attend a course with Ryno in CT. His work is mind-blowing, and thank you for showing the painting up close, the one for the workshop. Louise, this has been a very interesting class. Sorry?
People are so kind, John.
I know, I know. This has been a very interesting class from Louise with lots of information. Thanks for arranging it. Then Trina, thank you, John and Ryno. What a fabulous class this morning. The painting is lovely and the thoughts are brilliant. Then Leona, thank you so much, Ryno. You're an amazing painter. Beverly, thank you so much. This was fascinating. Leona says, I visited your gallery in Simonstown many years ago and really enjoyed our chat. So that's Leona Sykes. I don't know whether you probably meet thousands of people. So, and and what a treat. And I'm not an oil painter. Total gem of a session. Jennifer, would it be possible to do the workshop using acrylics, as I do not have any oils?
I'll write to her. She must write to me, because oils are so much better. The reason why people don't like oils is because they think it smells bad. But they must try the genuine turpentine. It smells like a pine forest. And it's easier to use than turpentine. And it's easier to clean your brushes. It'll be much nicer.
You can tell Ryno's a convert. However, if she just had acrylics, would she be able to come out with a similar sort of end result, do you think?
And she'll be able to do it, but she won't have the same joy.
Okay.
But I will.
You might not have the same joy, Jennifer, but you can still do it. So that's your call. If you want to invest in some oils, but it sounds like it'll smell like your house will smell like pine trees. So it sounds like pretty good to me. You don't have to invest in an air freshener. Vorgneen said, hi from Vorgneen or Vaughan. Ryno is wonderful guru and taught me the basics in a past life. Hello from the Isle of Man. Cynthia, what a wealth of knowledge. Thank you for such a wonderful short lesson. And Jennifer said thank you as well. So thank you so much, Ryno. It's been a pleasure to join you in your house down in near Cape Town. What a fantastic view, Ryno. Ryno must get up every morning. What inspiration. What a great view he has out of his windows. I just, it's making me, I don't know what the word is, holiday sick. I kind of want a holiday as soon as possible. So, and I'd love to go and visit down there. That'd be fantastic. So I'm now traveling back to England to host a full workshop webinar with animal watercolorist Liz Chadderton as we paint a cute little otter portrait. So if you're joining that, I'll see you very soon. I think Trina was heading off for that one as well. If not, thank you for taking part, and I hope you join me for our next live arty class next Tuesday, where I'll be welcoming oil painter Paul Alcock to paint a shoreline jetty. So it's goodbye from me, and obviously thank you so much for your time and generosity today, Ryno. Thank you, and really looking forward to the workshop in a week or so's time.
I am so impressed. John, thank you for what you've put into this art, this shopkeeper art. Is fantastic. Really, it is a fantastic opportunity, and I hope you get a wonderful response for all your artists.
Yeah, exactly. I'm really looking forward to seeing it on the Facebook page. So thank you so much and have a great rest of your day.
Yeah, thank you, and you.
Yeah, and thank your wife as well for helping to organise things. Thanks. Bye. Bye.